Well, good evening, everyone. First of all, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight in this very exciting and interesting webinar. I would like to welcome you all. And then I also would like to thank our speakers. It's my honor and my pleasure to introduce our two speakers tonight, Dr. Arwa Hussain Muhammed and Dr. Awfa Hussain Muhammed. From Tikrit University, who are going to speak about food, culture, and literature. Very exciting topic. But first, let me start by introducing our speakers before we move on to our webinar. Dr. Arwa Hussain Muhammed, she has a PhD in English literature and multicultural studies. She's currently a staff member at the College of Education in Tikrit University. Dr. Awfa Hussain Muhammed, she has a PhD in English literature and trauma studies. Currently, she's a staff member at the College of Education in Tikrit University, and she's also the head of the Women Empowerment Department in Salahuddin Governorate. Welcome again and thank you. We're thrilled to have you both. It's really an honor to have you both tonight. Today, in today's webinar, it's entitled Food, Culture, and Literature. As you can tell, it's a very interesting topic. And in recent years, food studies has developed into a distinctly academic field of studies. The relationship between literature and the uses of food metaphors has gained significant interest from academic community in general. In interdisciplinary and transnational context, literary food studies can be viewed as a new and emerging field which reevaluates, rethinks, and rediscovers the importance of food and eating in understanding the ways we live and communicate. It's also essential in conveying cultural messages in a variety of contexts. So as you can tell, this is a new and exciting field that we are all, we all look forward to knowing more about in this webinar. Just a few notes before I hand it over to Dr. Awfa. The agenda is going to be our two distinguished speakers are going to speak, and then we are going to open the floor for the audience at the end for a Q&A session. So please keep your comments and questions till the end. I would love to ask you to please mute your mics and also turn off your cameras. Well, Dr. Awfa and Dr. Arwa, we are really excited to hear you speak. And I forget to mention your list of publications and your achievements is very long and very impressive. And I also would like to encourage our audience and encourage our members to follow them in our group. They always post really exciting and really great contributions to our Facebook group. So I'm just gonna. The floor is all yours, Dr. Awfa, and thank you again for speaking to us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mesa. Thank you for this introduction, and thank you for introducing us to all the people who are joining today. In fact, the presentation is entitled Eating the Other, Food, Culture, and Literature. The argument of this study is going to be as the following. Food is a language of certain codes aims at delivering a message. Its tropes, metaphors, and images serve as figures of speech which depict celebrations of families and communities, portray identity crises, create usable histories to establish ancestral connections, subvert ideology and the practices of assimilations and integration. In fact, for today, we are going to discuss certain outlines. They are as the following. Ronald Barthes' essay towards a psychosociology of food consumption, ethnic identity, assimilation, integration, ethnic otherness, nostalgic hunger, and ethnic food in Naomi Shihab Nye and other Anglophone selected poems, eating and cooking as survival strategies, indigenous, typical American, and also we have another novel which is entitled Our House and the Last Word, and the conclusion and the suggestions for further studies. Let me first of all try to elaborate on the following question. Are we what we eat? In fact, when we ask this particular question, are we what we eat? I'm thinking about whether this enhances the keyword that is related to maybe culture, maybe to tradition, to conventions, to roots, to sense of belonging, to what are the main things that this question may motivate inside you. In fact, if we want to say what is food for us, food is, and it is going to be all the time, a complex cultural emblem, an encoded script that embodied the long history and collective memory of our culture. Indeed, indeed, I do believe in this because all the time when I think about a certain kind of food that I like very much, I try to link it with certain kind of event, maybe. For example, when we talk about klecha, it is something very important in our Iraqi tradition. All the time we think about Eid. And last time I was thinking about certain kind of juice. For example, the juice, orange juice, it is something maybe does not relate to particular convention in our tradition, but for example, in Salah ad-Din in particular, we all the time think about a very nice juice that is called the juice of nugur. And all the time when we think about this juice, we think about Ramadan and we think about other things. So when we talk about food, it is something related to our traditions, our history, our sense of belonging. And all the time, for once again, when I think about certain celebrations, I remember the birth of our Prophet Muhammad. I think about certain desert. I don't know what it's called in English, but we call it in Iraqi dialect zarda. So all the time it reminds me of my days at Adamiyah, my days, my childhood, my youth, my old days when I was living Baghdad. So what we eat and do not eat is largely a result of what group we belong to. Food is a system of communication, a body of images, a protocol of usage, situation, behavior. This is in fact a quotation which is extracted from Ronald Barthes' very nice essay. I like to share it with you today. When we say food is a system, it means that food is a structure, food is a building, food is just like this. In fact, this particular word system, it reminds me of Saussure when he talks about sign, signifier, signified, and when others says that the relationship between the signifier and the signified is arbitrary. In fact, all the time I'm thinking about this when I think about food in particular. Why? Because when I think about certain food, I say now this is the signifier, but maybe the signified is different. I'm thinking about this food in a particular way, but others think about the same food in another way. So we have no definite closure of meanings for certain kind of food. That's why we say it is a system. But when we say it is food as a system of communication, it means that there is a kind of language we can share by means of using food. For example, as I've told you, when we talk about klecha, we Iraqi people, when we talk about klecha all the time, we talk about our sense of belonging. Maybe when we talk about harissa, when we talk about many other things, when we talk about mazgoof, when we talk about certain famous dessert shops, when we talk about al-Khasaki, Abu Afif, all these shops, we are talking about a kind of our sense of belonging. We are talking about Baghdad. We are talking about Iraq. That's why here I am talking, I'm saying that food is a system of communication. It is, in fact, it is part of our collective consciousness, and even sometimes it is part of our collective unconsciousness. So what does Barth try to say in his very nice essay towards a psychosociology of food consumption? In fact, in this essay, he defines what is food. He says that food is a system of communication. He says other things. He talks about foods units. He talks about he says another quotation, I like it very much. He says, an entire word social environment is present and signified by food. He says that food brings the memory of soil into our very contemporary life. He talks about also the nostalgic value of food. He talks about feelings of inferiority and the way they are attached to certain foods that people abstain from them. Also, he talks about a representation of contemporary existence that is implied in the consciousness we have of the function of our food. Food, as also he says, he talks about food as a sign for themes and situation. It is exactly what I've told you about the celebration of the birth of our Prophet Muhammad, when we celebrate Eid, when we celebrate many other things related to certain themes or certain situations or certain events. To eat is a behavior that develops beyond its own ends. So all these things are tackled by Ronald Barthes in this interesting essay. But all in all, when he talks food, he believes that food is a means of communication. We communicate our memories by means of food. We communicate our history by means of food. We communicate our roots by means of food. We communicate sometimes our feelings of inferiority or sometimes our superiority by means of food. Sometimes we communicate our spaces by means of food. We talk about our feelings by means of food. All these things can be related to food in a way or another. So that's why I do believe that feelings about food, it is not a matter of what do we eat, but it is a matter of which group do we, from which group we are. Now, I think the floor is going to be for Dr. Arwa, who is going to tell us about and to talk to us, to discuss with us the meaning of ethnic identity in the other space. Dr. Arwa, please, the floor is yours. How are you, Dr. Arwa?
Hello, good evening, everyone. And
Good
it's
evening,
so nice
Dr.
to meet
Arwa.
you.
I hope that you are well now.
Thank you very
I'm afraid that
much.
you are sick today.
Yeah,
Sorry to bother you, but
yeah,
I
thank
think
you
the
very
topic
much.
is
So,
very
no,
interesting. That's why
it's,
we need you to share us your highly appreciated information concerning ethnic identity, concerning
yeah,
assimilation, integration, nostalgic hunger, all these concepts that I'm sure that you are going to elaborate on them in a very nice way. Please, the
thank you
floor
very
is
much.
yours, Dr. Arwa.
Thank you very much, dear colleague. But I just need your help if you just turn with me the
Yeah,
slides
of
later
course, of
on,
course.
as long
Just you
as
have to tell me,
yeah,
just please tell me next slide,
yeah,
so I am going to move
yeah.
on.
Hello, everyone, and it's a pleasure and an honor to meet you all. And actually, this topic is very important, and it's taken much interest and importance nowadays. I don't want to repeat what my colleague has mentioned, but I'd like to say to start with one important point. Um, Maybe this is the argument. I dare to say, tell me what you eat, and I tell you who you are. And this is the point that we are going to tackle today. So it's about the connection between food and identity. Actually, as you know, the issue or the topic of identity or the concept of identity is highly interdisciplinary, and it's connected to different fields of literary theory. For example, it has its connection with the feminism. Actually, when I was reading in the topic, I highly found that how far it is embedded in other fields of literary theory, like Black culture, like feminism, Marxism, so and so. But today we are going to focus to take it or to tackle it from one side in order not to waste time and to be more focused, connecting it with the hyphenated identity and the multicultural communities. Actually, as you know, one of the important concepts related to the multicultural community are the assimilation and integration. So could you please, dear colleague, turn it to that slide?
Just a minute. I think you can find something here about assimilation and integration.
Yeah, as you
Capture
know,
Arwa.
the multicultural, what we mean by multiculturalism is that the gathering of different cultures and how different cultures work together to create or to make one community, or one community is composed of different cultures. Like, for example, and I believe now all cultures around the world are multicultural. Like, for example, the American community, the British community, even Iraqi community. Here in Iraq, we have the Arab culture, we have the Turkmenish cultures, Kurdish culture. We have and we have many cultures. And each one of these cultures has its own customs, conventions, traditions, legacy, and food is part of this cultural legacy and customs. Assimilation and integration, these are very important concepts related to multicultural theory. Assimilation, as you know, is related to a metaphorical image, which is the melting pot theory. When you become part of the community, you should forget everything about our heritage, our recent culture, and you start to assimilate into the host culture. Whereas integration means that you bring together your it's of your community, original community, culture, and your host culture. How these things are related to food. People, it's part of their, as we said, that food is part of identity, and this is what people who live in multicultural communities and who have hyphenated identity. So as food is part of their identity and their conventions and their habits, they may find this may highly represented in their habituals, or food habituals or food customs. Actually, in order not to waste time and to give my colleague time to discuss other things, I would like to go directly to one of the important concepts, nostalgic hunger. Two concepts, actually, nostalgic hunger and ethnic food. Nostalgic foods are defined as the traditional staples and recipes that are transmitted, prepared, and consumed by immigrants and their families in the host country. Identity positions are affirmed by consuming culturally familiar foods that strengthen a culinary citizenship, which is defined as the immigrants' identities in the host country through their emotional relationships to food over time. Nostalgic foods tend to not only mitigate the pangs of my migratory dislocation, but also bestow cultural distinctiveness in the adopted country. So there is the always the issue of here and there, or self other and the nostalgic food. So nostalgic food, it means it's part of the, sometimes you feel longing as to a certain kind of food. It is part of your nostalgia or part of your nostalgic memories, part of the sense of belonging that people of hyphenated identity may feel to their original cultures. For example, these foods are imagined on the basis of idealistic parallels between the past and the present, the motherland and the current culture. So it is related to emotions that people of hyphenated identity, and it's related to recollections of gathering memories. So here we have vegetables, certain types of recipes, fruits. Maybe they are not just types of food, but they are related to one's identity and one's memories and sense of belonging and nostalgia. And here I want to refer, this is highly represented in poetry of the Palestinian American poet Naomi Nye. And as you know, Naomi Nye is a remarkable figure. She's a poet and a novelist, and her poetry is dedicated to talk about the issue of hyphenated identity and the idea of cultural reconciliation and to how to cultural reconciliation in the third place. So if you please go to the slide of Naomi Nye. Actually, I selected one poem by her talking about the fig tree. And it's the fig tree here has a very symbolic significance, and it shows how much she is attached to her home culture and her past memories, and how much she is highly influenced by her father, who was living with the memories of the past of Palestine. Will you please, Doctor, go to the in her poem, My Father and the Fig Tree. Let me just, if you give me time to read some lines from this poem. My father and the fig tree. For other fruits, my father was indifferent. He'd point at the cherry trees and say, "See those? I wish they were figs." In the evening, he sat by my beds, weaving folk tales like vivid little scarves. They always involved the fig tree. Even when it didn't fit, he'd stick it in once. He's ticketing. Once, Juha, I was walking down the road and he saw a fig tree. or he tied his camel to a fig tree and went to sleep, or later, when they caught and arrested him, his pockets were full of figs. So notice how in these lines, the fig tree is not only the fig is not only a kind of food. It's part of the nostalgia and part of the legacy, and it's part of the Arab cultural legacy. Notice how the image of the fig tree is connected with the image of the camel and the image of Juha. And as you know, these are considered archetypes or archetypal images connected to the Arab culture. And the connection between these images with the image of the fig and the fig tree shows or indicates the idea that this type of fruit is not just a sort of food, but is a symbol of identity and a symbol of his, the father's a sense of belonging to past memories. Nye suggests that Arab American identity is not something to be preserved or denied or escaped or romanticized. It is just another way of being human. In language that is readily accessible to mainstream US readership, Nye creates spaces in which Arab and Arab American experiences can be articulated, not through nostalgic reclamation, but by honoring the diversity of experiences and the necessity of change. These are some lines from her poem. Years passed, we lived in many houses. None had fig trees. We had lima beans, zucchini, parsley, beets. Plant one, my mother said, but my father never did. So notice by the way, her father was a Palestinian and her mother was a Muslim Palestinian, and her mother was a Christian American. And notice the hyphenation and the multicultural belongings and her identity that were highly reflected in her identity. So in this poem, she recalls her mother when she asked her father to plant another thing, but he refused because, as I mentioned, the fig or the fig tree is not just a tree or simple tree or that has a specific or a delicious type of fruit. It is part of his heritage. Okay, so it's his identity. It is who it tells who was he. Okay, and about ethnic food, Dr. Awfa, do I have much time? I can't hear your voice. Dr. Awfa. Okay.
I can hear you, doctor. I can hear you now.
Yeah. The last about ethnic food. About ethnic food and what we mean by ethnic food. It's also related. I have another example from Suhair Hamad, by the Arab American poet Suhair Hamad. Suhair Hamad wrote or published a collection of poetry entitled Za'tar Diva that uses food as an indicator of Arab American identity. And this collection derives its diction from both the Arab cooking traditions as well as the American street. So notice she brings together the two cultures at one time, so the two parts of the hyphenation. in one of the poems in this collection, Bag of Za'atar, and this is the first poem in this collection, in which the poet describes herself figuratively through the ingredients in a brown paper bag. Here are some lines from the poem. Open up my bag, out will spill, baby teeth Hussain, hair, lots of hair. Open up and seek, secrets, closets, whispers, whips, hyssop, things delicious, dead things breathing, sweet oil sandals, honey rocks and earth, champagne chocolates, good chocolates, music, music, sweet, open up my bag, tell me what you see. So here, this bag is supposed to be at the traditional bag of Za'atar. Yani, from hearing the title at first, we assume that we are going to read a poem that refers to a bag of Za'atar full of Za'atar. And as you know, Za'atar is a plant, and it's related to the يعني culture of Palestine, of Bilad al-Sham, as we يعني call it in Arabic, يعني Syria, Jordan, and Palestine. But what astonishes the reader is that when this bag of Za'atar lacks Za'atar, it has everything except Za'atar. It has everything that is related to the American lifestyle. So it is just has the name of the bag, yani the description. It is just a bag of Za'atar without Za'atar. So in this poem, two voices are heard: the author's and the imaginary voice of an otherness that the author does not clearly define, yet challenges to partake of such an experience of self-definition. The poem defeats its own title. At no time does the bag of Za'atar include any traces of Za'atar. Bag of Za'atar chronicles a tug of war between Western hegemonic discourse and that of Arab America, represented in the protagonist's resistance. So I'm going to give the mic to my colleague. And I think I have just, I don't want to take much of her time, and we want to give you time for discussions and ask questions. And here I have tackled as you see, two examples from Arab American poetry and the way they discuss the issue of food in their works. Dr. Awfa, you can resume the discussion. Doctor, can you hear me? Dr. Awfa, can you hear me?
I think she has left, Dr. Arwa.
Yeah, I think she has left. She has left the meeting, probably a technical issue.
Okay.
So would you like to continue talking? Because we can see the PowerPoint. So if you would like to continue talking.
So let me move forward on to the 10th slide, eating, which tackles eating and cooking as a survival strategies. Cooking ethnic food and eating it are survival strategies in the dominant culture. On the other hand, these two strategies enhance the dialectic between ethnicities and the dominant culture, the private and the public, the past and the present. So it's a matter of bringing together the past and the present, the dominant culture and the ethnicity. So these two acts seep into two main keywords that either detach an individual or link him to his ethnicity. They are namely preparing and consuming food. So this is assimilation versus alienation, or it's better to call them integration versus alienation, because as we said, assimilation may give another meaning, which is related to the idea of the melting pot. And at a time when the theory of multiculturalism highly recommends the idea of the salad bowl, which is to integrate into the host culture without forgetting or without ignoring your cultural legacy. And the
Dr.
following,
Awfa is back with us, Dr. Arwa.
yeah.
إذا
So,
ممكن بس
Sorry, I
slide that
think I have certain technical problem.
yeah, Dr. Awfa, in order to save time, can you directly go to slide 11? If you don't
Slide
mind.
11. Have you
Yeah.
talked about eating, cooking as survival?
Yeah.
Okay. In fact, I am going to talk about the aspects of these two strategies, cooking and eating. When we talk about cooking and eating, in fact, we are talking about something related to consuming food or preparing food. And we are going to apply this upon one of the nice novels. I like it very much. It's entitled House in the Last Word. It is a Cuban novel. It is written by the winner of Nobel Prize, Oscar something. In fact, forgive me, I find it difficult to read his name. Lakin, in fact, I am going to concentrate in this particular novel upon the main characters in the novel, and the main characters are Hector, Eligos, and also Mercedes. Eligo, he is the father of the family. Mercedes, she is his wife, and Hector, he is the son. First of all, I am going to concentrate upon Eligo. Now, Eligo, he is a Cuban man. He goes to the US. In the past, he lived in Cuba, and in fact he has all the feelings of his land. He has the masculinity of his land. He has the culture of his land. He has the behavior, the tradition, the customs, the behaviors, all these things. Now, concerning Eligo, as his job, I mean, he works in a restaurant. Now, when we talk about food in any novel, we are going to concentrate, in fact, upon certain locations. These locations are going to be the restaurant and the kitchen. The restaurant and the kitchen. And why the restaurant and the kitchen in particular? Because in the restaurant and the kitchen, we are dealing with food as consumer or as a preparers of food. So this Eligo, he finds it difficult to create a kind of reconciliation between the past and the present. The same thing with his wife Mercedes, and the same thing with his son. Like, the difference between these three characters is that Eligo, he does not suffer from the hybrid identity. In fact, no, the problem with him is that he tries to put a mask upon his face, the mask of the American identity, and in his shadow, there is the identity, the Cuban identity. And the problem with him is that he finds it difficult to create a kind of balance between the American and the Cuban, and as such, he finds it difficult to create a kind of reconciliation between the past and the present. He eats the American food, and he eats the American food in a Cuban way. he eats in such a very disgusting way. He tries all the time to represent his masculinity by means of eating. All the time, he has certain kinds of feeling. I am going to discuss it with you one by one. First of all, he has, excuse me, do I share the screen with you?
No.
It's not shared, doctor.
No,
It's not
doctor.
shared?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to share it once again. I'm going to share it once again. I think there is, it appears in front of me that I cannot share the screen. I don't know why.
Okay.
So can I explain without the PowerPoint?
I think,
about
Dr.
things?
Adra, you have the, Dr. Adra, you have the
Yeah, I was going to ask, is it
PowerPoint?
the same? Yeah, if it's the same, I can share it.
Yeah. Dr. Awfa, I think you're, this is on slide 12 or 13.
It is not a problem. It is not a problem, doctor. I am going to explain things. I'm going to
It's
explain
just for
things
the
now.
audience, so they can follow up with us.
Okay, I am with the slide 12. Slide 12.
Yeah, this is the point.
The gluttonous act of eating.
Yeah. Dr. Adra, can you share it? It's slide
Yes,
12.
I can. Just give me just 1 minute,
Yeah.
please.
We can still listen to Awfa.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to explain things. Now, when we talk about this Alijo, he suffers from certain things. The first thing that he suffers from is the feeling of the in-betweenness. And why does he suffer from the in-betweenness? Because he eats American food in a Cuban way. So in this sense, he is suffering from another problem, that is the problem of the hybrid conscious, not the hybrid identity, the hybrid conscious. Another important thing is that he tries to regain his masculinity by means of using or by means of eating food in a particular way. Now, when he eats the American food, he tries to fill or to fuel his conscious with the feelings of the feelings of the cowboy. He is superior, he is strong, he has feelings of strength, he can dominate others, he has the power of hunting, he is everything that represents power. So here, in fact, inside himself, he feels that he is inferior. So by means of pretending or by means of performing an American way of eating, he is trying to regain his masculinity. So his gluttonous act ultimately undermines his ability to assume his desired identity, that of a strong Cuban man. And he tries to regain his old self. Like, the problem is that he is behaving in a new way, so there is no kind of equilibrium between the past and the present. He tries to get the power from the American identity, like inside himself, he has the root of the Cuban identity and he belongs to the Cuban heritage. The problem is that he falls in between. Okay.
Dr. Awfa, if you just let me, I would like to comment on what Dr. Awfa has mentioned. I think food in this novel is treated just like language. So it's just like, I feel like just like when Indians speak English, but with an Indian way. So they add their own Indian identity to English language. Likewise, how other cultures or minorities speak English. So they add their own identity to the same language that other cultures speak it. So I think here food and language can be treated in a synonymous way.
Yeah, exactly. Next slide, please. Next one. Yeah, here. No, the one before, Mercedes cooking. I think, yeah, this one. Now, Alijo works, what about his work? He works in a restaurant at the Royal Palms Hotel. He prepares dessert. Pay attention to this. He prepares dessert. Now, the kind of food that he prepares gives him a kind of negative feeling. Why? This gives him a sense of humiliation because it associates him with submissive femininity. Thus, he starts to learn about other things like butchering of meat. Look at the big difference between preparing sweets, preparing dessert, and the another extreme, which is completely different from the dessert, which is butchering of meat.
Yeah.
There is a quotation. Sometimes he went into the meat freezer, large as a truck garage, with hooks and hanging animals as far back as he could see. He helped the butcher haul out beef slabs, whose frozen blood chipped off and splintered into Aligo's palms, staining his apron and giving his clothing the blood smell. Big and strong, Aligo's left the archaic coolness and set the beef down under. So here, if we try to examine the words or the vocabularies, the signs of this particular quotation, look at the use of blood, big, strong, butchering, all these classify him as who is the third. I'm with you once again.
Doctor.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, you hear me, please?
Yes,
Yes,
doctor.
yes.
Okay, so here, in this sense, he is trying by means of cooking certain kind of food, he is trying to do what? To regain power. By means of eating certain kind of food, but in a Cuban way, he is doing what? He falls in the trap of the in-betweenness. Next slide, please. Dr. Adra, next slide. Yeah, Mercedes cooking. Now, Mercedes is completely different from Aligo's in one sense. Now, Mercedes, she tries to alienate herself from where? From the American food. She tries to alienate herself from the American restaurant. And instead, why? What is the reason behind all these things? Is that she is emotionally hungry for the past. She has a nostalgic feeling for the past. She is in fact consumed by nostalgic feelings for the past. How? Because she does not like to eat the American food, the fast American food. She likes to eat. She likes to eat something vegetarian. So here, all the time, if we try to examine the shape of her body, she is thin. When she is going to be pregnant, she is going to hate her body. Why? Because her body is different from the formula of the Cuban, the body of the Cuban women. So she starts to follow a certain kind of diet after giving birth to
Dr.
her
Awfa, sorry
children.
for interruption, but can you sum up and come across things so quickly and go directly to the conclusion
Okay.
so that we can give time for the discussions?
Okay. Now, of course, I have another examples, like for example, Diana Abu Jaber. Lakin, I am going to sum up things by going directly to conclusion. Will you please go to the conclusion directly? We have another example. This is to Diana Jaber, but I'm going to skip it. I'm going to go directly to the conclusion. Memory plays a familiar role in the assertion of identity by members of ethnic and minority groups. Family stories frequently ground ethnic identification. The popularized search for roots is often articulated as remembering who you are. Memory function on both a cultural and a personal level to establish narratives of origin, belongings, myth of peoplehood, like memories of childhood, situate the subject and make agency possible. Food is indeed a form of participation through which the immigrant's character long for home and for acceptance in the new environment. Eating a traditional form from their homeland seems to compensate for their adverse situation. Seen from this perspective, I conclude that food acquires the role of a site memory, for it enables the characters, Arab immigrants and non-Arabs, to make associations to places or lived experiences. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention, and I'm very sorry for the technical problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Dr. Arwa, would you like to have the final words? Or
No,
have
Doctor, I prefer you give the opinions because I notice many raised hands. So if you give the audience permission to make their questions so that we can discuss them together.
Absolutely. And I think all questions and answers always, questions are the best part of any webinar or any kind of discussion panel. Thank you again for this informative and very interesting presentation. It was definitely raised a lot of questions, and I'm sure that our audience, some of them at least, they would have some questions. So anyone, please, can you just raise your hands? And Marwa, we have Dr. Marwa, Ismail, and other. We can start with Dr. Marwa. That would be great. Yeah. Dr. Marwa? Okay.
If you just give her the permission to
I'm sorry, just give me. Dr. Adra, can you help me with this, please?
Yes.
Yeah.
She's just free to just open her mic and Ms. Marwa, let's I think Ms. Sahar Muhammed wants to speak. They can just unmute themselves.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Sahar. How are you?
How are you, Doctor?
How are you,
I missed
Sahar?
your voices. I missed your voices,
Yeah,
Dr. Awfa and Dr. Arwa.
Thank you.
I want to say something.
Thank you very much.
Nowadays, in our life, we can see most of Eastern people eat fast food, junk food, like pizza, burger, and other new kinds of food, which are coming from Western societies. Are these kinds of food considered a hegemonic culture to our societies?
Can I answer, Dr. Arwa,
Do you
or you
hear me?
Yes,
prefer
yes,
to
please.
answer
Yes,
Mr.
yes, go on, doctor. And maybe I'm going to say something after you. Yeah.
Look, Sahar, when we talk about junk food or when we talk about fast food, I think it is it's part of discourse. And all the
Do
time
you hear me,
when
doctor?
we talk about American society, when we talk about American agenda, when we talk about the agenda of the other people, all the time we are dealing with a kind of discourse, and this discourse is trying all the time to possess us by certain kind of trends. These trends could be food, could be a kind of dress, could be a kind of
Yes.
a special use of language, slang language. So it is part of discourse, part of agenda, part of. Like when we say it is hegemonic, no, I will not say hegemonic. It depends upon the intention. It depends upon the intention, whether we
Yes.
want to follow this tradition or we are going to refuse it, or we are going to take from it what is acceptable according to our culture, according to our tradition. So it depends upon the call and response between the two sides.
Yes. Thanks for your comment, doctor. Thank you.
And I think, moreover, doctor, don't you think it's part of the Americanization that we are living in nowadays? Like, for example, food is the habits of eating, like burger and so on, are not that different from other habits. Like, for example, hip hop music and the emergence of the hip hop music and how it's getting wide spread in our cultures. Now we have Iraqi hip hops, Arab hip hops everywhere, Saudi hip hops. And as you know, hip hop is part of the American or the black culture, and then black and white culture or American culture. So it's how the influence, we are influenced, and I don't want to say imitating, because we are adding our own identity.
Could be a kind of writing back, doctor. Could be
Yeah, it's
sometimes
a
a kind
kind
of
of
writing
writing
back.
back. Yeah.
Could be. It could be sometimes. It
So,
depends.
so it's just like language, as I said, food works as language. It's just like we are using their language, the English language, as a sort of writing back. Here we are using food as a means of writing back, يعني, of us, or getting communicating with them.
Yeah, it's just like when we try to use the same components, but we try to use them in a new texture, in a new Eastern texture. So it's going to
And by
be
the
a
way,
kind of writing back.
it's not that we are influenced. Arab food is also influential in Western cultures. Now they know kebab, kubba. I hear much about it. These such recipes in Western restaurants.
Yeah. Another
Yeah.
question, please.
I think we have Ustad Majid Saadi.
Yeah.
Yes.
Please.
First of all, good evening, everyone.
Good
This is
evening.
Majid Saadi from University of Anbar, a student at Department of English. Actually, I have two questions. The first one is for Dr. Arwa about the poem that she mentioned previously. My question is, what is the main reason that leads the poet? I think her name is Suhair, to
Suhair
give
Hamad,
us, yes, to give such a title to her poem, the bag of Zatar. And we know that the bag has everything except Zatar. And we know that, or you mentioned that her mother is Palestine, from Palestine, and Muslim. and her father is from US.
No, no, no. This is Nai, but Nai.
Yes.
Yeah.
My question is, um, I need to know the main reason behind give such a title to this poem.
Okay.
Yes.
So, as you know, first of all, Nye, it's Naomi Nye, who has an American, a white American mother, and she's a Christian, and an Arab Muslim father, a Palestinian Muslim father. But Suhair Hamad, both her parents are Arab Muslims, so she is from Arab origins. Uh, Za'atar, as we said here, is not just a plant. It is part of the Arab legacy. It signifies her connectedness with her Arab culture, home culture. And in this poem, what she means by the bag of za'atar, the shape, it could be the shape here, the bag, she could be the bag of za'atar. By the way, the speaker could be herself. And the bag of za'atar here could be a symbol of the speaker herself. She is the bag of za'atar. But what inside the bag of za'atar is not za'atar. It is everything but za'atar. It is the hegemony, it represents the hegemony of the Western culture, the host culture. Now I'm living in the Western culture. Everything in me, my outlook, my fashion, my way of thinking, everything is American, except that me inside, I am inside still that Arab Muslim. I still have that za'atar inside me, but out from the outside, there are other things. Okay, so you see now we have the za'atar could be a symbol of the mother culture, the motherland, the legacy of the mother culture, and everything that. So this bag of za'atar has everything except za'atar, everything related to the American lifestyle. Okay?
The
Yes,
next
Doctor.
question, Majid.
Yes. Yes. You means that. Sorry for interruption. You means that Zatar, as the poet, uses it as a symbol of motherland
Yeah,
nostalgia.
yeah.
Yes.
It's part of the Arab legacy, the legacy of her homeland.
Yes. My second question is about the lecture in general. What is the main reason that encourage you to make such a title, eating the other food, culture, and literature? Is there any connection between these three things, food, culture, and literature?
Yeah,
Yeah,
let me
of
pay
course.
the, yeah,
Yeah,
Dr.
of
Awfa.
course. Yeah, of course. When you talk about when you're in a host land, you are going to suffer from certain feelings. You are going to suffer from maybe nostalgia. Uh, when I was in Amman, Jordan, I used to go to certain place. It is called, please, Dr. Arwa, help me. What the name of this part of Amman?
It's
It
an
was called
Iraqi restaurant, steaks the Iraqi,
Iraqi restaurant.
yeah.
In fact, I used to
Falafel,
buy
for
falafel.
falafel. We
I
missed
used to buy
Iraqi falafel
falafel.
so much at that time.
Yeah, I used to buy falafel from there, and I used to like the smell of amba. And I don't like their food all the time. I go there for two reasons actually. I go there to eat falafel and to smell, to get the smell of my land, and at the same time to hear the words, the Iraqi words. Once upon a time, let me give you this funny joke. Once the one of the workers in the restaurant is abused by the owner of the restaurant, but he is abused by means of using the by means of Iraqi dialect. at that time, I felt that I am very much possessed and obsessed by these voices, these words, this smell of amba, kebab, falafel. So this is part of me. This is part of my identity. This is part of my heritage. This is part of my culture. This is my identity. This is Iraq. And I used to, when I go to to other places, other Jordanian places, wow, well, this is something Jordanian. It's not just like Iraqi places or Iraqi restaurants. Just does not like dolma. For example, our neighbors used to give us their dish. It is called they call it mahashi, or they call it yalanji, or they call it whatever, but it is not just like the Iraqi dolma, actually. So this is our identity. And when I talk not about American things or American food, I am talking about Jordanian food, for example. This is the other. And my food, this is the self. So their food is part of their culture, and my food is part of my culture. So who is eating the other? Do they eat my food, or do they eat me by their food, or do I eat my own culture? Or this is what do I mean by eating the other. Now, all the time, since we are interested in literature, all the time we talk about means of representation. We look for means of representation. So actually, in future, you can think about representation of music in literature. You can think about representation of sport in literature. You can think about anything you think about and its representation in literature, because after all the time when we analyze any literary text, we have to think about meaning and being, content and form. Thank you very much, Majid.
Thank you for your answers.
With a pleasure, dear. With a pleasure, dear. Thank you.
Dr. Mesa, can I comment? Dr.
Sure.
Mesa? Yeah.
أستاذة لمياء الآن تفضلي عزيزتي.
Yeah, I would like to say thank you very much. Thank you so much, really, Dr. Arwa and Dr. Awfa, for this enlightening and interesting analysis of food in relation to literature. I really would like to comment, it's not a question, but the other role of food, which I can refer to as the role of commensality in literature. By this, I mean as a medium of connection. Food, the idea of how acts of sharing food could help in building relations between people. It's not always that you have this nostalgic feeling, but sometimes you find foreigners, Iraqi restaurants are full of foreigners everywhere in the world. And they keep going there, and they make relations with Iraqis because of food. So it's not always that you have this kind of separation. On the contrary, it's really communication more. So this is the other
in
side.
fact, Dr. Lamia, you are right, Dr. Lamia. In fact, this is what I wanted to discuss concerning Diana Abu Jaber, a crescent, but unfortunately, we haven't time.
Yeah,
it is not all about nostalgia all the time, but it is it is a language. It is language. We say at the very beginning that food is language.
Yeah, we really make friendship with people because of food, because of going to the same restaurants. People from different nationalities, and they make relations. They build up other relationships because of that. Yeah, and the other thing is that I think there are many famous novels which really tackled this relation. Novels which we studied at college. I remember it's like Oliver Twist, and and the importance of being earnest, and Alice's Adventures in the Wonderland. I mean, these are really famous, and they really tackle this kind of relationship between food and I mean, really, your lecture will open the doors for further research, especially in because I've been thinking of working on food in Arabic literature and Islamic literature, because I come across a very interesting study by an English researcher called Jan van Gelder, who worked on Islamic literature, and he found really lots of relation between food and literature, because he analyzed some verses from Quran and verses from poems and maqamat and other kinds of literature. So this is really a good chance for scholars, for students to work also on the importance of food in Arabic literature, because Arabic literature is really very rich in the depiction of food in literature. Yeah. I have a very nice, yes, I have a very nice quotation showing the importance of food. Say, when we no longer have good cooking in the world, we will have no literature, nor high and sharp intelligence, nor friendly gathering, nor social harmony, which is really is a call for communication through food, you know. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank
coexistence
you.
Coexistence through food.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Lamia.
With pleasure. Thank you very much for your remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I think we have Dr. Awfa Adra Hatem, and we'll end with Dr. Muna Alwan just to conclude.
Please, may I?
تفضلي عزيزتي ست عذراء، تفضلي.
Yeah, thank you very much. Firstly, I'm really honored. I really want to thank you all, to thank Arwa and Dr. for actually introducing topic. And as usual, we are used to hear your amazing. I want to say, I have comments. So may I comment or not?
Yeah, please do.
I think there is a bad connection with internet. I comment. Thank you, Dr. Awfa. Actually, I have comments to what you have actually presented, what you have said at the beginning of your presentation. And the second one is related to the poem that Dr. Arwa has. My first comment is what you have said at the beginning, that that food reflects, actually remind me of 2 years ago I have watched a program. It was actually a British program, and in one of the episodes it's named Master Chef, and actually I watched it because one of the participants was an Iraqi participant, and I think you know him, and he is Chef Shaheen. So the judge asked the participants to present food that reflects their culture, to present dishes that reflect their culture. So surely she presented dolma, and actually what impressed me is what the judge after that. The judge said when he saw all the dishes on the table, he said a very impressive saying. He said that here I'm actually not in front of dishes on a table. I'm here in front of cultures on a land. And then he added, he said, I will not eat your food. I will listen to your culture. And this is actually, and I wrote.
Very impressive.
Yeah, it is so much impressive. He said, I will listen to your culture. And then he said that food is culture, and we are in need to listen to it, not to eat it. So this is one of the the first comment. The second comment is about what my amazing instructor, Dr. Arwa, she said about za'atar. Actually, this reminds me also in a British. For a British poet, she's a modern British poet. Her name is Sarah Maguire. I think you know. I think Dr. Arwa know her. Sarah Maguire actually went to Palestine, and when she was sent there, and she returned back to London, she has actually tried to write something that is related to the Palestinian culture, and she chooses to write a poem, which is its title is Za'atar. Why? Because she believes that Za'atar reflects the Palestinian culture, reflects the Palestinian nationalism. You know, after Za'atar actually represents not only the prosperity or the culture of the Palestinian people. No, it actually presented symbolizes even their nationalism. That's why she actually at the end of the poem she makes a parallelism or comparison between Za'atar and between the gunpowder. You know, gunpowder, because both of them. Gunpowder can be separated in the air. Both of them can be separated on the earth. Both of them can be just like a dust in the hand. So this is actually one of the this poem reminds me of that poem. And finally, I'm really grateful for you. I'm actually really honored and so proud to be one of your students. Really, at each symposium, I really feel that I'm actually really proud to be one of your students.
Thank you very much.
Speaking with that, thank you,
Adra.
Thank you, Mrs. Azra. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we can conclude by our leader, our mentor, Dr. Muna Alwan, to conclude this lovely and very interesting webinar. So, Dr. Muna, the floor is yours.
Thank you, dear. Thank you. Thank you,
Sure.
Dr. Awfa. Thank you, Dr. Arwa, for this richly, highly informative talk. Great talk and great questions and great comments. Thank you all. Wonderful. To be honest, I feel grateful to both of you for enriching us with knowledge about this recently acclaimed genre of literary studies. I read about it here and there, but the amount of detailed information you have provided is simply great. I have no questions because you have answered all my queries. Living in a Western society, I understand very well how closely connected food is to cultural identity. For me, it reflects the richness, generosity, and hospitality of Arab culture. This is one way of acquainting Westerners with our culture and sense of hospitality. My guests are always amazed at the richness and the variety of our food, and they feel so grateful to us and think highly of us. Believe it or not, they become our best friends after eating it, after coming and tasting. You know, I mean, they feel amazed. You know, Westerners don't really have this generosity in when they invite you. But
this is what I meant by this is what I meant by commensality. I mean,
exactly. When we invite them, when we invite them and they see, you know, how generous we are, they really think differently. They become, you know, aware that there is a culture which is worth knowing about. Anyway, to conclude this interesting session, I just want to say that you are the kind of dynamic scholars we should have in our academic circle. Knowledge seekers in every sense of the word, who keep updating their knowledge. I wish all our academics could do that. I would also like to applaud your commitment and generosity, sharing your knowledge with your students and colleagues. To me, these are the genuine traits of scholars. Keep up the good work, dear, and we are very happy to have you with us in our academic group. God bless you both. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you.
Thank you,
It's an honor. We are honored to hear your words. Thank you very much.
Oh,
and thank you, Dr. Maysa, Dr. Adra, for their help, for their efforts.
We say these words from our hearts. We mean every word we say. And of course, thank you so much, my dear Adra and my dear Maysa. You are wonderful scholars, and I'm proud of all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, dear Doctor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Muna. We really appreciate your words and your support always. I cannot top your words, so I'm just gonna have to end the webinar with that kind of sense of support and solidarity, and also love of knowledge, and the kind of the curiosity that we have found, and the sense of communication, and the sense of togetherness that we always find in food, which definitely our two speakers, our two scholars have touched upon. Thank you again for sharing your thoughts, for generously answering your questions. It's been really very interesting and a great evening. Thank you for our audience for being there with us, spending the evening, this evening with us, and we hope to meet you again in our next webinar. Also, I would very much encourage you to, for those of you who are in our group, Dr. Arwa has an idea, a suggestion about a coming meeting to discuss the future of teaching literature. So maybe we can also, all of us, contribute to that. We'll definitely look for future announcements about that. That would be a great space for all of us to discuss and to improve the reality of teaching not just literature, but teaching our students in our universities. Thank you again, everyone. Have a great evening, and we will see you in our next events and our next webinars. And thank you again for our speakers.
Thank you, Dr. Maisa.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.